Central Region. A few weeks ago on the message we talked about what does it mean to be in the Central Region and the culture kind of that we have and how you can learn to really be your best self by going through the summer. Last week we talked about Memorial Day. This week we're going to talk about something that is a great challenge and a super fun challenge when it comes to Vector. One of the things that I've always liked about what we do is we turn our business more into a sport than to just a regular work effort. I can remember back in my landscaping days when I was in college, just absolutely horribly hard work. You'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and there was a 45-minute commute, at least for me, to get to where I needed to go for landscaping. And I was one of the crew leaders, which just basically meant that I had an expectation from my boss that I would work harder than everybody else out there. And one of the jobs that we had was this massive apartment complex where there were tons of buildings, and we needed to scrape away all of the rocks that were actually on these buildings, put a tar base down, put dirt back down, and then put the rocks back next to the side of the building. And what this basically did was prevent water from running in because they were getting water in the basement. So tar, rocks, dirt, heavy, lots of things. Now the crew that we had working, and my brother actually was one of the other crew members, the crew that we had working with us was, let's just say, less than Harvard. I don't know how else to put it other than the fact that some of these people that had records that wouldn't have gotten them hired at other places and did a lot of dubious recreational activities, sometimes even including to their breaks, which we had to take care of. And you let your imagination run, although I can tell you it's not going to run wild on this. You'd probably be right the further you ran it. Anyway, point is this: not really the A-team that you're looking for necessarily. And we weren't really productive in what we were doing. And my brother and I got a little frustrated by this, so we thought, well, what would inspire these people? And we said, we know what's going to inspire them. We're going to say that whoever gets more done, as long as they meet a minimum amount, buys the other team a case of beer at the end of the day. Okay? And this was before those Miller commercials, if you remember, would two guys really go at it this hard just for a beer? I think that was Miller Lite, I don't remember anyway. Point is this, and that might even be before your time too. The point is this though, that I never saw these people work so hard, because what we did is we immediately changed it from a work environment to a competitive environment, to a sport. Okay? So you weren't thinking about, oh, my back is sore because I've shoveled all day. You were thinking about, we're going to beat those guys. And now they started talking smack to us and back and forth and everything else. Well, this is a time where our offices kind of do that. Only it's with a group of people who, generally speaking, are a little bit more motivated, more of an A-team. I know that that's who's sitting in this office because I know Vector well, and I understand that the people that we work with are people who are ready for a challenge, willing to be challenged. They're looking at that first. They're not settling for things. And there were great people on that crew too, by the way. I don't want to make the whole thing sound bad. But here, generally speaking, we're talking about a group of people who, when you're attracted to the Vector opportunity, when you decide to become a part of what we do, there's something inside you, even if you didn't actually exercise it before, that says, I'm looking to be great. I'm looking to be more than what I've done before. And a way to do that is to challenge yourself internally, just like a runner would, to say, I'm going to have my best time. Okay, and if I have my best time, that's going to make this a great race. At the same time, though, there's this external thing. I'm running against others, and I'm going to try to beat them. And if I do that, it might take me beyond my expectations on my best time because I'm being pushed by that competition. This is where you can do that, just a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Your managers might be asking you to come into the office in the morning and make phone calls, and that might be a sacrifice or a discipline that you don't really like at first, but you want to accept the challenge so you can become great. Virtually every single thing that a leader asks you to do that makes you something better is something where at least initially there's a pushback. You're saying to yourself, I don't know about that. That sounds like more work, and will it pay off? Well, if you were guaranteed the payoff, in almost every circumstance, you would welcome the work that your leader, your manager, your coach is presenting to you. If you were guaranteed that you would win the Little League championship, then the high school championship, go on to college, and then be a pro athlete and make millions of dollars, then going back as early as 6th grade, if you could have a guarantee of that, you would do the work. The problem is the work going to be worth the effort? And when you go from that little kid that says, I'm going to play in the majors, to the high school kid that gets a little disenchanted, to the college person who knows they're not going to live that dream, you simultaneously start to take away the commitment that would go there. And sometimes it makes sense to do because simply that's not the calling that you have. But at other times, though, we give up on ourselves too early. And I just want you to know this. While there are no guarantees in the Cutco business, there are no guarantees anywhere in life. Even if somebody goes and gets hired by a big corporation with a lot of money and they want to, take this job because they have aspirations to the future, that's one of the biggest times that people get disenchanted because they realize there are no guarantees there either. And sometimes they'll commit this time and effort to someone that just all of a sudden lets them go. Here, you don't have to worry about that. Here you can dive in and you can make your opportunity as big as you want it by challenging yourself in a way that you can't other places. I even thought about my landscaping days. I used to put together the time and say, how much time would I work? If I work this many hours, I make this much money, and then if I work overtime, I make time and a half. So it would take this much time to make this much money, and I would calculate that out. And then I got into Cutco, and I thought, oh my goodness, if I go after this, and I get these promotions, and I go to the higher levels, then really what it takes is for me to just sell a certain amount, not for me to wait and work through hours, but to actually have my opportunity and my outcome come through my efforts and results. So I started going after results, and that was a hugely important thing to me. The question I have for you is this: are you willing to go after the results to get the reward? If you are, then let yourself be immersed into the Push Week opportunity. You're going to be meeting with other teams all over the place when you get together at your conference. You're going to learn a ton when you go to that meeting too, by the way. So that sacrifice is also worth it. But challenging yourself right now to be the best that you can be and to go further than you thought you could go during this time, to spend the extra time, be more resourceful, do more appointments, make those sacrifices, it will pay off for you and you're going to do well for it. In fact, there's a saying that if you do things you don't get paid for now, you get paid for things ultimately later on that you don't need to do. And while you're always going to get paid for the effort here, because you've got the minimum pay, you've got the commissions, what you're going to find is the effort that you have when you're making 10%, you're making 20%, is the same effort that you make when you're making 50%, but you're getting a huge paycheck. So that's a very valuable thing, and I'm going to encourage you to go after it during this Push Week. SC1 is around the corner.